Welcome back all. Thank you for continuing to get in touch, sharing your thoughts and opinions. The best place to do so, comment section below. And if you have a longer story, maybe with some pictures, you can email hi@tuesday@dobbs.com. This week we begin with Morbidelli, the ambitious Italian who dreamt too big. This is an Italian motorcycle manufacturer who had some success in racing. They built some interesting bikes, and recently the Chinese have bought the name and taken the brand in its own direction with the Morbidelli C1000, which is a V-twin cruiser at sub £10,000. With that in mind, let's start off with the Yorkie 1954. This conversation, this discussion takes a really interesting turn. So listen to this. Freddie, from the Yorkie 1954. Morbidelli also produced possibly the ugliest motorcycle ever. Google the Morbidelli V8. Let's take a look at this then. Morbidelli V8. Yeah, I mean, it's no looker, is it? But that V8 engine, it's got something about it. It's a conversation starter at the very least. So it's an 850cc, just look at that thing. I mean, the front end, yeah, it's not going to win any beauty awards, but 850cc, V8 engine, 120 horsepower, Pininfarina styled. I don't know if that's specifically a good thing for motorbikes because Pininfarina are famous for cars, but Giancarlo Morbidelli fancied them designing his very own bike. This is a bike that was unveiled in 1994, but such was the disgust of the motoring press at the time for the looks of the thing that Morbidelli freaked out. They said, or they thought, my lord, no one's going to like this. If everyone says the bike looks this disgusting, we at least need to try and facelift it. So Morbidelli quickly withdrew the bike, spent 2 years trying to facelift it and make it look better, relaunched the bike in 1996. Still, the motoring journalists at the time said this is the most horrific looking motorbike we've ever seen. So Morbidelli again went away, relaunched the bike with another slight facelift in 1998. Still no one really liked it, and by that point Morbidelli could do no more facelifts. So 3 or 4, and depending on which article you read, it's one of the other. 3 or 4 of these Morbidelli V8s were ever made, ever. Giancarlo Morbidelli kept one for himself personally. He put another one into his own motorcycle museum, that's 2, and he sold one to the Barber Motorcycle Museum, which I believe is in the USA. That's 3. If it's true that there were 4 made, or 3 made and 1 prototype, that means that somewhere there's one final Morbidelli V8. And surely that would make it, or all 4 of them, some of the rarest motorcycles with the most fascinating history ever made. After the heartache, Giancarlo Morbidelli had pretty much had enough, and the V8 project died, and after that he ended up selling the company. I think he just could take no more of it. So if you want a motorbike with a story and the most exclusive thing that you will ever hear of in motorcycling, the Morbidelli V8. Love a bike with a story. Let's carry on with the Morbidelli theme and take it into 2024. This is where things take a turn. From was a 59, I should say. Freddie, all they, Morbidelli, have done with this new bike, the Morbidelli C1002V, all they've done is rebadged a Chinese bike that was previously called the MBP C1002V in the UK. God, can this be right then? I've checked numerous websites, it's exactly the same for all of them. I'll pick Vogue's website. If I click on Vogue's website here, and I can see here a 2024 MBP C1002V for £8,995. This is a 2024 bike, but look at this, look at the wording. There isn't one mention here of the word Morbidelli. But this bike here is the new Morbidelli C1002V. This is the bike here that we're looking at, but it's branded only as the MBP, yet still being sold in the UK. That's the Morbidelli. Remember this bike and the way it looks. Now take a look at Morbidelli's website. Morbidelli.com. It's the same bike. But look at this, the V-twin thrill on every journey, that all looks great. It's still a good looking bike. But the difference is here, there isn't one mention of MBP. This is all discover the new Morbidelli C1002V. Zero mentions here. Polar opposite end of the spectrum, now no mention of MBP. Same bike, branded differently. It's fascinating, really fascinating. Was a 59, thank you for that. Moving on, Euro 6 is coming, and it may be the reason for huge reductions in motorcycle prices, new motorcycle prices. I discussed last week how there are some obscenely good discounts right now on brand new bikes. And a lot of Brits got in touch with me and they said, Freddie, could it possibly be because the weather's been so bad? I thought this could be a perfectly reasonable idea. Kenneth has another idea, and this, I'm sure, is the reason. Freddie, Eddie's in Tadcaster, I assume this is a motorbike dealership, are selling their BSA off at thousands of pounds discounts because of the Euro 6 coming into force. And that was from the mechanic who works there that I bumped into at Squire's Biker Cafe last week. Well, let's have a look at this. I couldn't find anything online about Euro 6 for motorbikes coming out, but what I did find are these two screenshots. If we take a look at this one first. Euro 1 came out in 1999 for motorbikes. Euro 2, this is from Bennett's Bike Social. Euro 2, 2003. Euro 3, 2006. Euro 4, 2016. 10-year gap. And then Euro 5, 2020. So it does make perfect sense. 4 years after Euro 5, that would now make sense for Euro 6 to come along. And if it does come along imminently within the next few months, it means that all of these motorcycle manufacturers, either they're going to have to completely change the exhaust system on the bikes, or they're just going to have to desperately get rid of all of their own stock because soon they won't legally be allowed to sell the Euro 5 motorbikes. Incredible opportunity maybe to haggle hard for a deal on a new bike, and that makes perfect sense as to why there are so many discounts. But from a positive point of view, have a look at the reduction here. If I just do the carbon monoxide, for example, Euro 1, 1999, 13 grams per kilometre carbon monoxide. That's what was allowed. Now, for Euro 5, it's 1 gram per kilometre. It's gone from 13 grams per kilometre to 1. And you have to assume Euro 6 would mean it would go down to maybe 0.5. This is going to get to a point with Euro 6, certainly Euro 7, where exhaust emissions are very possibly cleaner than breathing in some air in bigger cities. On now to KTM build quality issues. I had 2 separate emails for this, and this is going big at the moment online. Huge amounts of people are talking about this. This is going to be a very, very big problem for KTM. Really bad press here. I'm going to start with Alison. Freddie, I'd be interested in your thoughts on KTM's response when MCN called them out for their camshaft issue that everyone has been talking about. You only have to take a look at this Facebook page to read the stories from thousands of impacted KTM, remember these, 790, 890 and Husqvarna Norden 901 owners, some of whom have had horrific experiences. Check out the Facebook group. See, this is a group that's been going for 25 weeks. It's called specifically KTM Failed Camshafts, and it's got 8,500 members. Not that it means, of course, every one of those members has an issue, but you've got 8,500 extremely worried owners, I have no doubt at all. Just in the past week, the group's grown by 527 people. Continuing with Alison and the lovely pic of her Husqvarna Norden 901. Absolutely love my Norden. Sharing a photo of our recent trip, 2 up from Manchester to the south of France via Andorra, naturally. But the camshaft issue was a constant worry. It really spoiled our great adventure. Alison, let's have a read of this. This is from the MCN article, and they get some quotes in from KTM and KTM's response. So MCN article, I'll start with KTM's response on it. The affected components meet the technical specifications for their intended use. This applies both to the hardness of the camshafts and the width of the finger followers, as well as to the sufficient lubrication of these components. They continued, we introduced wider finger followers for MY21 and an additional oil screen for MY20 to improve overall performance and quality of the engine. Both innovations simultaneously resolved the contributing factors mentioned above. The official response comes following mounting pressures from owners online, with one particular Facebook group called KTM Failed Camshafts that's amassed 7,800 members at time of writing. Continuing and wrapping up here with MCN. Despite KTM stating that the issue is now fixed, Austrian motorcycle engineering and analysis company Kuba shared images online of a 2023 890 engine showing what they say is excessive wear on a cam lobe, with one of their main business areas being laboratory services for engine development. MCN also spoke with the senior technical officer at the University of Queensland, Blair Knight, who experienced cam failure on his 790. After the engineer analysed his own camshaft, he proposed that the part itself exhibits insufficient hardness to be properly resilient. Now, Sher, this is why I had to read this out, because this is 2 emails that came in. Sher has sent me an email here with a photo. So this is coming in as a first-hand story, really. Freddie, I have also enclosed a picture from my friend's KTM 790 adventure that fell slightly out of the guarantee period by just a few weeks. KTM weren't interested in any form of support at all. We ended up having to buy, listen to this, we ended up having to buy a second-hand engine from a crashed KTM Duke 790 that was sourced in Italy. So these camshaft issues, this isn't some small issue, this is an issue so serious, it can mean that your bike's a write-off unless you can source a second-hand engine from somewhere. And of course, you're going to be buying a second-hand engine from somewhere that will probably still have this inherent built-in weakness. Continuing with Sher. So carrying on, we had to go and buy a second-hand engine from a crashed Duke in Italy. This could also affect, write this down, certain engines from CF Moto's 800 series. So please be careful on their reduced prices. Best wishes from Dusseldorf, Sher. I mean, just Google this. If you have time and if you're that way inclined, if you're interested in KTMs, just Google KTM failed camshaft and you will be overwhelmed by the amount of stories. The internet is full of them, from YouTube to Reddit to limitless other forums of people freaking out. It sounds like KTM, from what I've read and heard from you, KTM have a substandard attitude to quality intolerances in some circumstances. They know that they've got issues, yet they've got a mediocre at best, unapologetic attitude, and their statements mirror that. It's very, very strange that they've allowed this to go on for so long without actually really properly wanting to rectify these quality issues on a larger scale for all of the loyal owners who have bought these motorbikes when they know it's an inherent fault with the bike. So clearly the reality is, certainly in Sher's friend's case, KTM certainly are not willing to help their owners. It really goes back to this argument. Yes, a bike could be out of warranty, but have KTM sold vehicles here that are fit for purpose? Because if you can argue that KTM have sold you a product that isn't fit for for purpose, then still potentially you've got a claim on your hands, even if it's out of warranty. Because I would say, let's say you've got a bike that's 4 weeks out of the 2-year warranty from KTM, but the engine's a write-off. Even though you've had a full KTM service history, you could certainly have a good, strong argument to say that the motorcycle was not sold fit for purpose. On now to Leo. Stella Alpina Rally, pictures included. This is lovely. Freddie, just back from the Stella Alpina Rally. The environmental lobby, the environmental lobby at NIMBY, that's NIMBY, managed to partially disrupt the event. But some of us, only some, still managed to do the Col de Sommelier to the snow line on Tuesday rather than the traditional Sunday. But still an almost spiritual celebration of the adventurous motorcyclist. God, the environmental lobbyists, they're doing all they can to stop the enjoyment of motorized vehicles, but fascinating pics, or stunning pics, Leo, fascinating insight, and that is definitely something I want to do. Now, back after 10 years and a kind madame. This is from John. Freddie, after 10 years away from biking, pictures included, I came back to it 2 years ago. I bought a brand new Honda Transalp and booked a ticket from Portsmouth to Bilbao and a return from Le Havre to Portsmouth. I had 6 nights on the continent and decided I'd do around 180 miles a day. I'd struggled with anxiety all my life, and the day I left for Portsmouth, I was very apprehensive. For my first night, I'd planned a route down to the Bardenas Reales desert. I arrived there at 3 in the afternoon and set off on the 31-kilometer gravel route around the Badlands. It was stunning. I was out there alone in the sort of landscape I'd always wanted to visit. For my last day, I spent time in Normandy and visited Pegasus Bridge. This was the first point taken on D-Day by glider troops. The first house liberated in France is here, Café Gondry, or Gondre. I called in for a coffee and sandwich, and Madame Arlette Gondre was sitting out on the... Oh, that's so nice. Sitting out back in her kitchen. This is the lady herself. She was 4 years old when her home was liberated. The lady herself, that's brilliant. I went away looking for an adventure, wonderful scenery, good food, and I got that in spades. But the best thing about this jaunt was the people, the warm welcomes, the kindness, and the amazing generosity of strangers. I cannot wait for the next one. John, with an Instagram account, our man in Cumbria. On now to France, or carrying on with France. This is from Etienne. Hi Freddie. I finally decided to get my motorcycle license, and now I'm looking for my first purchase. A2 license, so it has to be 47 horsepower maximum. With the current state of the market, is it better to look for a brand new bike and invest more money in it, something like the Triumph Speed 400, Kawasaki Eliminator 500, or the Royal Enfield Interceptor? Or should I look at cheaper bikes from around the early 2000s to keep with all those low emission zones just about, and with the risk of having troubles with reliability and maintenance? How do I balance it out? Etienne from France. Etienne, this is what I'd do. Honestly, if I was in your situation, I promise you, I would do just this. Auto Trader, get onto those Interceptors. They're 47 horsepower, so it's the maximum you're legally allowed, and you can take your pick from almost irresistible prices now. 2019 model, £3,275. So that's a 5-year-old bike. And this is, just quoting the top bit, retro-styled bike. I know, Etienne, you're in France, but you'll get the same thing, so do bear with me. Retro-styled bike cherished by an 81-year-old owner, always ridden and garaged in Wales. That is as straight as you can get. And let's say you can reduce the price down to £3,000. Etienne, a bike like this for me represents the perfect balance. You're going to have all of the modern day reliability, so you're not going to have anything to worry about. It's also significantly modern that you're never going to have any issues with these low emission zones. It will pass all of those with flying colours. And at that £3,000 price point, Honestly, you're probably only going to be spending an extra £1,000 on this bike than you are a 20-year-old bike, and you're going to have no issues with getting parts and anything else like that. You could go brand new, and that's a good idea. You could get a brand new bike on finance, but for the probably £3,000 saving you can get with this bike in such good condition, I would go for a nice bit of middle ground here. Don't go 20 years old. You don't, as a new rider, want anything unreliable that you're going to struggle getting parts for. Go middle ground here, £3,000. Etienne, that is the bike to go for. Let me know if you do and send pics. I'll make sure to share them. On now to bike of the week, a Japanese Ducati Multistrada. This is from Fiat Man. Freddie, a Kawasaki Versys 1000 is a strong contender to the Ducati Multistrada. What if you were intrigued by the Multistrada from last week and the week before? Thought that looks like a very capable bike, but I just don't know if I can quite yet pull the plug on a Ducati with the expensive services. Take a look at this. 2015 and 2018 model I'm going to show you. It's got 118 horsepower, and I will read you a bit from MCN. Owner's reliability rating 4.7 out of 5. Go for this model if you want a good bit of middle ground. Not too expensive, but all of the modern reliability and incredibly highly regarded. 2015 to 2018. 4.7 out of 5 stars. Owners give it for reliability. It's a heavy brute. It's 250 kilos. I've only just seen that. Okay, it's quite heavy. Overall rating, 5 out of 5 stars from MCN. This is what they say, just to sum it up. With its new styling, extra comfort, and dedicated sports touring tyres, Kawasaki has transformed the Versys 1000 from a confused, adventure-styled ugly duckling to a handsome, super capable sports tourer. So good, it rivals its very own Z1000 SX. You know it's good, isn't it? You have a look at Japanese bikes on the classifieds and the reviews of the bikes, and it's like breathing in a breath of fresh air when you see those incredible reliability scores, and you know that the running costs are going to be fairly close to market leading. You won't have too many unexpectedly big bills. And you have a look at a bike like this, the one I found on Auto Trader. In fact, I changed it last minute. I went to Facebook Marketplace because I got a £1,000 discount. Facebook Marketplace 2017 Kawasaki Versys, £4,500 with all of the luggage, all of the panniers, nice condition, centre stand, exquisitely comfortable looking seat for a rider and a pillion, and a genuine reason for sale. I'm selling this bike as I'm looking to move soon to a new place which doesn't have a garage for a bike. I've had it just about 3 years, and it's been, of course, a very reliable bike. Easy to maintain and service if you like that kind of thing. 31,000 miles, I could go on and on, a few scratches, but what a capable bike for £4,500. And I'll wrap it up there. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching this week's episode. Have a brilliant week all, and as ever, cannot thank you enough. Thank you so much for all of your input.